right there. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world, and Happy New Year. This is our first broadcast for 2022. I am thrilled to be here, number one, at all. I'm happy to usher in a new year. My name is Peter J. Redding. We're talking about life itself. How do I treat life? Mindset do I bring to the life that I have been graced to live by my Creator? So welcome to the broadcast, and happy New Year. Happy, healthy, fulfilled New Year. Couple things on my mind today. We'll just start it off is how do I plan my year? So the last couple of weeks between the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, today, putting together my 2022 calendar, doing my scheduling, and beyond scheduling, how do I want to either control that schedule or dictate that schedule ahead of time rather than just going into it unconsciously, with like what I did for most years. So one of the things that I'm focusing on is using this year, 2022, as a transition year to put the infrastructure in place, the mental structure, the scheduling structure that supports me to do more of my life's work, basically, sort of boiled down. But most weeks, not all weeks, but an opportunity for most weeks to have a 4-day weekend and a 3-day work week, kind of turning things upside down from my experience in most of my life, where I worked for 6.5 days and maybe took a half a day off, maybe, for big chunks of my life. So that would look like, trying to take things that are on Mondays and Fridays and push them back into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or to minimalize those so that it's not every single week that I've got something scheduled for Mondays and Fridays, and giving me more flexibility to do my work. Yeah. So it's one concept that I've been working on, and very consciously, and it's getting there. Proud to say, happy to say. The second concept that's been banging around in my head has been the concept of judgment. And so I saw this quotation, I think last week, and you know how much I love quotations, mine in particular, but others as well. And this was not mine, but it was that the concept that whatever I am judging out there is really a reflection or a judgment about something within me. Right, so it's the concept of the mirror. The world is a mirror. It's an all an autobiographical mirror. So the things that I love about what I'm inside my environment, people, places, and things, are things that I love about myself. The things that I judge out there in terms of that's not enough, they are too narrow-minded, they are less compassionate than they should be, is a tinge of where in my life am I less compassionate than I want to be. So what that boiled down for me in terms of my stream of logic goes to, how can I be less judgmental of myself? If it all starts with me, and I believe it does, It's not to say that I'm the center of the universe, but it does say that I am the center of my life. And if I am wanting to judge less, then how do I judge myself less? If I am judging myself, that's going to seep in, ooze into judging those people around me, or those people, places, and things around me. That's not okay. That's not okay. That's not okay. So what's the kernel in that I can reflect on and bring back to myself? Now, as you know, if you've listened to any number of my sessions over the last year, there is this idea of self-responsibility. There's a sense of moving to a attitude or a focus of life affirming. Again, as opposed to life limiting, or if I don't want to do this, and this, that's not particularly helpful in terms of me moving towards what I do want to experience, what I do want to focus on, that is more life affirming for me. Okay. And I use that everywhere. I use that in my trainings. I use that in my coaches, coaching clients, etc. And the reference that I'm referring to now is self-reflection. So if I don't want to be, if I want to be less judging or judging those things around me, what is it that I want to do instead of what I don't? And what I've come up with is, what if I were to replace all judgments, or at least as many as I possibly can, humanly possible? I don't know if I'll ever get to the place of being 100% judgment free. I don't know if that's humanly possible, but what the heck? I'm gonna shoot that as a target. And replace judgment, self-judgment. Now we're talking about, for me, Peter. This applies to you, great. Take it on. If it doesn't, turn the channel, watch something else. But for me, the self-judgment is, I want to replace that with more compassion for myself. I want to replace it with more caring, with more kindness, with more love for myself. Now, I've done some of this work over the course of the last 30 years, maybe 35 years now. The more that I become less judgmental of myself, or if you will, more accepting, more compassionate of myself, more loving of myself, what I experience then is that I have more of that vibration, attitude, space, energy for those people around me. So that includes my beautiful students worldwide. It includes my coaching clients, again, an international group of awesome visionaries. And for those in my immediate family, or my immediate neighbors, or my immediate community. So that's kind of my theme for the year. And the juxtaposition of all of this is that if I accept, or no, let me put it a different way. When I accept that I am perfectly perfect the way I am right now, without judgment, then do I need to do any of this? So there's this circular logic that goes on inside of my head. And part of that is theory right now for me. Part of that is very practical. The better attitude that I have about me and my life, the more productive I find myself, the more open I am to open up that compassion and love and acceptance for others. Accept them where they're at, love them where they're at, rather than judging them and say they should be more conscious, they should be more compassionate, they should be more open-minded. And that's a great place to live. it's a very, for me, it's a very healthy place to live. Healthy physically, healthy mentally, healthy spiritually, emotionally. And I believe that that's going to play a huge role. It has played a huge role already in terms of literally my physical longevity on the planet. To be in that more healthy state of mind, healthy state of body, healthy state of being, in that sense of connection with my fellow brothers and sisters around the world. So anyhow, those are some of my ruminations for the morning. I'm also here to remind you each week that you are innately magnificent. I'm going to say that again. I am here each week to remind you, anyone that hears this, you are innately magnificent. Regardless of circumstances, regardless of time of life, regardless of your energy level, regardless of the pressures and things that are going on in your life right now, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Deep down inside of you, you have always been innately magnificent. I believe that your creator, however you hold that, created you to be whole, perfect, and complete. That's a saying that comes out of the 70s, frankly, maybe earlier than that, but that's the one time I start remembering it. Whole, perfect, and complete. When I first heard that, I said, that's crazy. Nobody's whole, perfect, and complete. We're flawed human beings. That's why I held myself. But there is a kernel, you can call it the soul, you can call it your heart space, you can call it that divine presence that is within you. Whatever you may name that, I believe that there is that in every single human being, regardless of their actions, their history, what they're doing relative to perpetration or judging others, that there is that innate magnificence. The further thing that I believe is that we are all connected in that space. That's the space that I'm connected with each of you that are listening right now. That's the space that I'm connected to everyone that is not listening right now on the whole planet. And it's a space that is amazingly generative, amazingly generative. The responsibility, personal responsibility that I take, the uber responsibility, I referred to it recently or in the past, is that if my core of myself that is whole, perfect, and complete is connected to all other beings, then I have an impact, whether I like it or not, both in a generative sense and a non-generative sense. So the idea of, let's say, if I get really, really angry, not if, but when I get really, really angry, I still do, that gets pushed out into the planet. And again, I can't explain this from a science standpoint or even a theoretical standpoint, but my sense is that it's an energy that goes out and it just vibrates through the planet, vibrates through the universe. And that may have an impact on a person that's not ready for that level of anger. Conversely, when I am in a deep sense of compassion for myself or for those that are around me, again, consciously or unconsciously, I also send that vibration out to the planet and maybe lift it up a little bit. You know, maybe it's a little micro nano element, but nevertheless, there's a sense I get of personally being uplifted. That feels really good. That feels good within my body. That feels good to be in this space of acceptance, of love, of kindness, of compassion, of understanding, of caring. And so I want to bring it, for me, this is just a great forum for me to say it out loud for myself so I can hear this again out loud, that this is a place that I want to commit myself for 2022. And have a conscious way of being able to do that. It may be that I need to write some things down, put it on a sticky note, stick it on my mirror in my bathroom, maybe journal more about this, rather than focusing on how do I become less judgmental, which is, yeah, that's admirable. Thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate that. And I think the more powerful place to be is, how can I bring more kindness into my world today? How can I bring more compassion into my world today? How can I bring more understanding into my world today? Yeah. So those are my thoughts. I'm happy to open it up to questions, to strategies, to concepts, to your experience with any part of this, or anything else for 2022. What do you want to create for yourself? What do you want to consciously create? That's kind of the general, theme of today. What am I consciously creating to live the life that I'm here to live in 2022? Okay. So we got a number of people in the inner circle here on the Zoom call, and if you'd like to share or comment any of that makes sense for you, your strategies, happy to hear from you, either in the chat box or verbally.
Hey Peter, I'll pitch in with something.
Thank you, Vivek.
Firstly, to the earlier comment about anger being transmitted, to the earth or cosmos, and likewise compassion and love. That's absolutely correct. I mean, we are standing on the earth. So what we feel is one way or the other pushed down, and we also receive from there. But deeper than that, our physical bodies are made of 5 elements, which are all the elements we find in nature. Mm-hmm. So we reflect that. Our bodies reflect that. As nature changes, so do our bodies change, and as we change, so does the larger aspect of nature change. Now, having said that, these are all perishable, and they themselves, from that point of view, are not conscious. But the mind is also considered a part of nature. The mind is the mind looking outwards, towards the energy, the physical realm, and etc. is considered a part of nature because it's fluctuating all the time. And if that gets a sense of stability by knowing the truth or knowing equanimity, under, say, the influence of what would be wisdom, to know that nature will keep fluctuating and changing. But I don't need to swing with it. I don't, sometimes there's something good, so one feels elated, sometimes there's something bad and one feels sad. And those reflections are actually taking place in the mind. There's no such thing as good or bad. High tide or low tide, they both serve, the earth and the cosmos in the way that they do. So the separation of the mind from the influences that impact the mind, actually, then there's nothing left to do. That state itself is compassion. There's nothing left to do there, nothing left to think that I need to be compassionate. It's just the delinking of the two. So if you're a big elephant and there's a little rabbit comes and ties a rope around your leg and then tugs at it and tugs at it, it's tugging away, but the elephant isn't really feeling it. So the idea is to be as I guess the idea is to be as large and as all-encompassing and as accepting and observant as that. I would take that on for the year, for the new year. Why not?
And in that metaphor, are you the rabbit or the elephant?
Well, so far both.
Or both, yeah.
Yeah, I tug at myself.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So I need to change my relationship with myself, to for that to happen.
So is there a practice that you practice to remember that kind of concept, that kind of way of living, way of being?
There is a very potent, or there's a very potent thought that I experience, if kept in mind, resolves the highs and lows in the mind, or resolves the feeling of good, bad, and happy or sad in the mind. And that is that we say, in Hindi, or Prakriti ko vikar sahit jano. That means that you must understand nature with its attributes. So, you walk up to a lion who's had his dinner and, etc. And he's okay, he smiles at you, and you pet him and you walk on. It's not a lion, it's a well-fed lion, and you pose no threat to him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you come across a hungry lion, and if he doesn't want to eat you, he'll just swat you out of the way and you're done, you're done for. Mm. So to understand the nature of what you're dealing with, to understand what you're dealing with, know it with its nature, know it with its attendant attributes and circumstances. And then the aspect of the mind being involved with the responses disappears. The aspect of judgment disappears. It's nothing personal then, Right. A hungry lion is a hungry lion. A hungry child will cry. A child that's happy will gurgle. So we can't blame the child. We can't pass judgment on the child or make that have us be happy or sad. This is the nature of the beast. This is the nature of the child. And this is the nature of nature. So the tsunamis and et cetera, the vegetative aspect and the earths and the mountains that are, speaking back or shouting back, such is the nature of nature. You oppress it, it'll wipe everything out in one clean slate. It recognizes that it is life. It's not killing life. It's just rearranging things.
Yeah, it's the vitality of movement, the vitality of life, the vitality of nature. And so underneath all of that, what I'm hearing is be conscious. If the lion looks hungry, maybe I should take a different path.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you, Vivek.
Or like a bear, they say when you walk into jungles, especially in America, they don't feed the bear because he will want more.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as enough for the bear.
No. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, Charles, Happy New Year to you.
Greetings, Happy New Year to you. Thank you again for the privilege of at least getting conscious on Tuesday mornings.
Yay.
I had fun looking for a blessism for judgment.
Yeah.
As I mentioned last Tuesday, my primary co-author, co-creator Leslie Rhea Powell and I are focusing on finding the blessings and pain and trauma and pandemic. And I sent a text as soon as you started talking about judgments. And do we have one yet? So she did, and I popped it in the chat. And it's interesting because some of the first thoughts that I had as you were speaking is having been through a spiritual living center Atlanta visioning session last night. It's the self-judgment, it's like, oh crap, I could have done this, I could have done that, I should have gone there, I said I was going to finish this. So it's like what I need to release in that 4-question process that Michael created for the Centers for Spiritual Living. It's what do I need to release? Well, that's a big part of it. Any self-judgment, any judgment of anything, anybody, and just focus on what you've been talking about. There's only one mind, one consciousness, move in that flow, focus on not being the hungry bear, being the content, calm, at peace centered bear. So happy New Year to you and to all this wonderful universe of marvelous creatures.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you. Happy New Year. Love your enthusiasm for life, period.
Good, because I'm not going away.
Good, me either.
Yeah, you may have noticed that every day this week, the featured resource in our Blessism newsletter is.
I saw that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Who else would like to contribute? Thoughts around judgments, self-judgments, what you're planning consciously for yourself for 2022? What you want to release more of, perhaps? You can approach it from either side.
Hey, Peter, it's Naomi.
Hi, Naomi. Good to hear your voice. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, everyone. I love being here on Tuesdays. I love this conversation. I was thinking about how I have these lofty ideas and plans and thoughts, right? Every year or every summer, I start again. And this year, what I keep thinking about again is exactly what you're talking about, is not just remembering, but remembering and experiencing myself as part of the whole. Because it's easy to get into my head and think I'm doing that, but I'm not doing it because I'm thinking about it as a separate being. And when you ask Vivek, what's your practice or your tool? So what I've been going back to is the wave in the ocean. And I don't remember where I first kind of heard this and learned this so many years ago, that I can, be the wave in the ocean, worried about the wind and the push of the water, kind of taking me away and destroying me, and stopping and realizing that I'm the wave in the ocean and I am the ocean. And so that brings me completely back to being part of the universe, not part of the universe, right? I realize I've been using even language and thoughts that separate me when I'm trying to be one. So that I'm kind of going to that visual when I start to feel that judgment about myself or others or situation. I mean, there's a lot of situations out there, right? That I'm the wave that is also the ocean. And just kind of center in that.
It's beautiful.
And then, just try to move forward and just when you talk about that vibration of the planet and how everything that gets pushed down, it's the same thing, like remembering, neurologically, like that's how we're made, right? We have those mirror neurons, and it's not just person to person, the energy I bring, but it is that mirroring of everything. So thank you for having this discussion today. Very timely.
Yeah, thank you. There's a continuing series of paradoxes that I experience as a human being. And as you say, and some, it's like, how come everybody else out there, isn't like me or as smart as me or as conscious as me or, as compassionate as me? And then by the very act of saying that, I separate myself. And as you say, I am part of the whole. I am. I've experienced that as well multiple times and for long durations of time in the second half of my life as of right now. First half, I was unconscious. We've talked about that. I could try to ignore that piece of it. But the sense of connection, for me, automatically brings a sense of compassion. Compassion for myself brings compassion for my fellow brothers and sisters. Love of self in not a hubris way or a braggy way, is a love of mankind, humankind, the universe that I get to the privilege of experiencing. So, and that flows back and forth. Sometimes I'm the wave and I'm in turmoil, and sometimes I'm recognizing that that's just one little glitter point on the whole body of water. So that goes back and forth for me. But I like the idea, and I have experienced this concept. It's more than a concept for me now. It's experience of I am part of all of humanity. And even the humanity that's passed before me or that will be coming after me. There's a continuum, and I am and will always be a part of that. So how can I be the best part of that is basically what it comes down to. And remind myself so metaphors are very powerful, and I love some of the metaphors already. So from a philosophical standpoint, I'm a both and. I am a absolutely unique human being. There's no other Peter Redding on the planet. Well, there is, but they're not me. They are also unique. And at the same time, I am part of the universe. And there's a sense of one-ment, connection, harmony, love that flows through me just because I am a part of that oneness. And I think that, again, that's part of the human experience, the duality. There's hot and cold, young and old, good and bad, things that we judge, the duality of life. And I think there's something much broader than that, much richer than that too, that's available. And I am not a guru. I am not a monk in the Himalayas. I am not a scholar in existential. But I am a living example of being able to change, consciously change, from being unconscious to conscious, from feeling separate, from being judged, to being able to improve, if you will, my lot in life through my own desire for better consciousness, more openness, and to, if you will, defeat the early conditioning that I went through, that I believe every human being goes through. And it's a common theme for me, as all of you know, that there is so much conditioning that a human being carries around with them that shields them, isolates them from the beauty of life, of what we're talking about right now. And there is hope. There is a way for that to happen. I've been there, done that, still going through that myself. And I've experienced and witnessed that with over 4,000 students now worldwide, that we talk about these things in a holistic manner in our coach training. And it's frankly the crux of modern day coaching, supporting human beings to know who they really are and make conscious decisions about their life, about their relationships, about their bodies, about their work, about their kids, about their neighbors, about their belief systems. Re-examining some of those things. Is that really true for you? I know it's true for your parents and maybe your grandparents, but are they true for you? Are they still true for you? Do they serve you, or do they isolate you? They serve you to be the human being that you're meant to be, or not? Or to what degree? Yeah. All right. Who else have we got here? We got Arshna here. We got Christine here. Not saying, I'm sure I'm seeing all the people that are here, but anybody else would like to contribute to 2022 consciousness, awareness, what you're up to, what you'd like to have more of? I guess not. All right. We have a good 20 minutes left, 25 minutes left. And we could cut it short here, or we could get into a different topic if this is too heavy for everybody. Charles shaking his head, so I'm not something. It's always something on Charles's mind, I know.
Well, occasionally in my heart too. I was just shaking my head. No, don't cut it off. I mean,
Okay, okay.
we're being quiet because we're providing space for others to come forth and share their thoughts.
Thank you for that, Charles. I appreciate that. All right, well, I'll make some comments about the modern day profession of coaching has everything to do with human development. In fact, it's probably the #1 thing that coaches worldwide have come to know, that the most powerful part of coaching, yes, it can support a person's clarity about what they want to do in life, you know, what's next, what actions they want to engage in or not engage in for their life, for their family, for their relationships, for their career, for their employers. And it's very powerful that way. It is. And beyond that, or deeper than that, there has been a major emphasis by the professional associations around the world for coaching that says, yeah, we're coaching what the client wants to deal with or what they're currently involved with right now, but we're also coaching the human being that is behind that action, behind that decision making. Who are they being as a human being? And the development of that. And the development of that means, in professional terms, professional coaching terms, as you go through these actions that you are contemplating, who do you want to be as a human being as you're doing that? Do you still want to be gruff? In other words, do you want to just kind of charge in there like a bull or a bully and force this change on your organization, on your team, on your part of the, the activities that they're talking about? Or do you want to be more of the sense of the humanity of who you really are? Again, going back to that sense of core self. So do you want to bring in your level of compassion, the qualities of acceptance, the qualities of creativity, the qualities that has been embedded into you by your creator as you go about this blank, this action? Now, what's happening as a result of this level of coaching, this is a high level of coaching. Most of the coaches in the world are not operating at this level right now. Hopefully they will be as we move on in the profession and they get additional training and additional experience, and they get more comfortable in that within themselves. So this again ties in that Mobius back to self-development, self-care, self-mastery. Because my observation now, and I've been doing this for 25 years, 26 years, we're now in 2022, is that by supporting the client, reminding the client week after week after week over the course of that coaching engagement to consider for themselves how they want to be with this as the human being, the human operating system underneath the actions that they're going to be doing, they start fine-tuning, deep down inside of me, this is the way that I know that I want to be, but I'm not used to being that way. In my role, I have been expected to be demanding, authoritative, unyielding. I've been trained as that, as a executive, as a boss, as a owner, as a dad. I hear that. I understand that. But is that the most effective way to be as you're going about these action steps that you've talked about, that they've taken on self-commitments? I don't give them assignments. You know, a professional coach does not give a client assignments. They ask the client, what do you want to do? What are you ready to do, if anything, as it relates to what they're talking about? But the other side of this human development piece and personal development piece begins to bring a client back to, if you will, their core self, their most authentic self. And I believe, and I've experienced that when a person is their authentic self, they are their most powerful self. They get more stuff done. It's done with greater ease. It's done with greater collaboration. It's done with a sense of joyousness as opposed to exhaustion. So the human development side of professional coaching is coming more and more into the forefront of professional coaching worldwide. And it's tied directly to self-mastery. This has been a piece of professional coaching for the 25 years, 26 years that I've been involved in it. And within the last 2 years, the International Coaching Federation has codified, has put into their core competency model, the articulation of a coach in order to become a more and more masterful coach must have a practice of self-reflection. I think that's almost word for word. I may be off by a word there, but basically word for word, that is within the core competencies to be a masterful coach, is to have a self-reflection practice. How did I do? What could I have done better? How can I improve my lot, my self-mastery? All of that contained within the self-development of the coach, professional coach, in order to hold that space, a bigger space for the client to do what they need to do in terms of their own self-mastery, their way of being, and be able to bring that focus, that opportunity for the client to reflect on not just the doingness of what's in front of them or on top of them, as the case may be. So there is a duality of focus. There's a doing and there's a being, as opposed to just doing, and now I'm exhausted and I have to go home and drink or, do something that is, getting my brain out of my workspace. How can I bring both? And personally, it's more generative. I've experienced that. For my clients, I see it's much more generative. Okay, and then we talk about doing, it doesn't have to be 50-50, by the way. I teach my students this. It doesn't have to be 50%. Okay, we've spent 50% of the time on your doing. Now let's spend 50%, the last half an hour of the hour session and in the beingness. That's not the way it works. This is all organic, flowing. But because of the coach's higher level of consciousness and awareness of their own life and self-development, what I call self-mastery, it's easy for them to hold that space for their client. there's a saying that came about last year, I think, is where I first saw it. And it said that the International Coaching Federation has a desire for coaching, professional coaching, like what I just talked about, to become a significant and integral part of every single thriving society on the planet. That means for school systems, that means for government, that means for enterprise businesses, it means for family units, it means for healthcare, it means for wherever humans are operating, individually or in a group, that the concept of coaching, the concept that come through coaching in terms of higher level of consciousness and awareness to make better decisions, to self-care, self-mastery, again, the sense of the who the human being is behind this, or the human beings behind this organization or operation. How can we develop those? How can we support the discovery or rediscovery of the magnificence of that human element? Is that cool or what? So that's what I'm involved in. That's what I am a huge advocate for. Yeah, doing coaching will still continue. It's very superficial. Yes, you'll probably get more done in the 3 months, or you'll speed through something maybe more rapidly. But if you're not focusing on your own self-care and self-development and self-mastery as a client, or you're not supporting that as a coach, it's okay. Okay, and I'm going to stay out of my judgment. Here's a real life practice session in front of you going on right now. I don't think it's as powerful. And it's a journey. Some coaches aren't ready to do that higher level of work. But for those that are, I would love to support you. I'd love to have you come and be in this forum and grow yourself individually so that you can be a more masterful coach and bring in more self-mastery into your clients' lives and the lives that they touch in turn. So Charles is saying, I have a couple of questions about personal development being focused these days on coaching. Go ahead, Charles. What are those questions?
Well, first, it's encouraging to hear what you've shared about the increasing awareness and focus and appreciation of the personal and human development.
Yep.
I was deeply attracted to Paul J. Meyer in the late 90s because of his total person strategy and approach. And he had that balanced approach, but generally it's been about get and have,
right,
as opposed to the being and allowing the getting and the having to come out of that. And Paul had identified 5 success qualities worldwide that he found through 40 companies. They were positive mental attitude, self-motivated, goal-oriented, master at managing your time around your priorities, and then mastery at managing your money around your priorities in those orders. And that kind of led me into Maslow's description of the fully actualized individual. It led my Ultimate Destiny team to identify 12, through internet quizzes, 12 basic facets of solving life's ultimate success puzzles. Where I'm going with that is, do you know of any template, any vision, any checklist for what fulfillment in human development or personal development would look like? Among the 1001 Peter J. Redding quotes, is there something little about,
Well, yeah, individually, I have those ideas in terms of what self-mastery is all about, what it includes. And as you know very well, Charles, that for me, it starts with the core self. Do you really know who you really are? Who you were created to be, what you've been endowed with. or not. That's where it all starts for me. And the second part then is am I living in alignment with that? Am I bringing those qualities, or am I bringing that life purpose? Am I bringing my natural gifts and talents into the work that I do, into the conversations that I have, etc. The ICF does not identify, here's the journey, here's the track, here are the traits, here are the things that you have to do for self-mastery. They leave that up to the individual in terms of, do you bolster that through yoga or through meditation or through prayer or through, reflective practices. They don't identify the journey, which I think is good, frankly, is because every human being, I think, is going to have a little bit different journey to do that work, to get more in touch with themselves as they are prepared and ready to do so. But some of the basic models, I think, still hold up. Maslow works really well for me. If you're starving, then you're not really looking at self-actualizing. You're looking for the next meal. You're looking for clean water. And as you progress, now I can't see what you're holding up, Charles, but it's either.
Well, when I said it was encouraging to hear that personal human development was newly or more widely appreciated, I should have added it. And it's not surprising because Peter J. Redding and Coach for Life have trained over 4,000 coaches, and you've offered the core selfie. What I'm holding up is the Guide Yourself to Clarity by the awesome super coach Alana Brown, which is her way of sharing the core selfie processes that you have empowered us all to utilize and share. So well done, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had a small part to play in that overall coaching profession. And I say really a small part. I've been one of literally thousands of professionals around the world that have contributed to where we are today in the world of coaching. And proud of that part that I've played, and part of, the geniuses that are my peers and predecessors that have plowed a whole bunch of road to get us to where we are today. Yeah. All right, what do we got here? We've got about 7 minutes remaining here. Anybody else want to weigh in on any part of what we talked about, bantered about today?
Yes. Good morning, Peter. It's Christine.
Hi, Christine. Yay. Happy New Year to you, girl.
Happy New Year to you, my friend, and to everyone else. I've been listening this morning intently, and I was just trying to think about what I wanted to say that was really impactful, that would be impactful for the group here. And I just want to say, from the beginning of your opening statement, losing the judgment of oneself. Mm-hmm. Just hearing your words of that this morning were so impactful.
Thank you.
And just a continuation of learning as a coach to be, if I'm non-judgmental of myself, lose it, kick it out, kick the can, kick the judgment, be more open and accepting. And in my core values, that's who I am. And if I'm warm and accepting, then I have to really be authentic and to be better for the clients. And another thing I wanted to share is, while we are not therapists, and you've been very clear from the very beginning, and so has the ICF, mm-hmm. We are not therapists, we're not mental health professionals. However, this unprecedented time of where we are in this world, we are seeing so much that I feel like we need to talk about that more in our, even as a coach, mm-hmm. Recognizing, we even may be partners, right? Yes, I am your coach, but I know you may have a therapist or a counselor or sure. Psychiatrist. Yeah. But I just wanted to share that too, that has just seemed to be so heavy and impactful to me, even in the last 2 weeks. People that we know are not always happy during whatever holiday you celebrate. Sure. It's just been a very difficult time with the pandemic and the holidays. But again, just focusing on that role of a coach is now even more important. And saying as well is now that my corporation, my company is now my client, they are so much more open to saying, yes, we want help with coaching individuals to be human beings.
Wow.
Miss Bradley, it's we want you to help them be better people. And I'm like, hallelujah, amen.
Wow. Wow.
So I wanted to just share all of those feelings in my responses and thoughts, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We don't do therapy, as you so accurately say. We're not trained to be therapists. We're not trained to go back into a person's life where they had that traumatic moment or years or influence. And we've held that was very clear from day one of before we even had what we call competencies now, back 26 years ago, when we were operating as kind of independent coaches in a collaborative way, and talked about exactly those kinds of things, that we don't want to become therapists. We're not replacing therapy. Just period. That's not our work to do. And at the same time, some people took that to the other kind of part of the pendulum and said, okay, so then we can't talk about feelings. Whoa, anyway, stop. That's not what we said. That's not the intention here, because a healthy human being has feelings, by the way, right? They continue to have feelings. They continue to have ups and downs of life. So the question is the client responsible enough to deal with those, whatever's going on for them, feelings of anger, feelings of hurt, feelings of regret, feelings of whatever's happening? Can they take it from where they're at now and move forward with that inside of a space of compassion that a coach might hold for them? So we still are adamant about not being therapists, but we are also adamant about how do we deal with the human being that has feelings, that has hurts, that is feeling, I'm going to say depressed in a temporal short version as opposed to a clinical long version of it. And how can we hold a space for that human being as a fellow human being? And this the last piece of this, and we're going to run out of time here in about, what time is it? In about 2 minutes. Okay. The other part of this is to not get enmeshed into that person's life or feelings of hurt or regrets or what have you. So how can I hold a space, be compassionate, loving, caring? And I've cried with my clients. I have cried because they're going through a tremendous sense of loss, or tremendous sense of betrayal, or tremendous sense of whatever has gotten them emotionally into it. And still hold a space of, I'm the coach. I am partnering with you to go through the process that's going to honor you. And so, not what do you want to do with this is my simplistic view of this in a matter of 2 minutes. How do you want to be with this? And just let them know that you care. And it's okay. You can cry if you need to cry. You can yell and scream if you need to yell and scream. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to say anything. How do you want to be with this? And that's a beautiful thing. And that again is, thank you, Christine, for the again, bringing back that sense of humanity and beingness and who they want to be as they go about doing their life. That's a beautiful place to end. Thank you so much for that. I want to wish all of you a happy new year, a healthy new year, a vibrant new year. And I love you dearly. I plan to keep doing this. This comes up to almost a year's anniversary that we've been doing a weekly live streaming. And I'd like to continue it. I get a great value out of it myself. I love those of you that are showing up. I love those of you that are seeing this in a recording. And hopefully you're getting inspired in your own way. And it's contributing to a better life for you and your family. So with that, God bless. Namaste. Stay safe. Bye, everybody.